Let's just dive right in, shall we? Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating 2014 Supreme Court case to uncover the true scope and the surprisingly strict limitations of a massively powerful legal remedy here in the Philippines. It's a case that perfectly captures the tension of trying to use an extraordinary constitutional writ to solve a deeply personal family dispute. So, right off the bat, we're hooked by a highly unique petitioner, an infant. I mean, why is a child who can't even speak yet at the absolute center of a Supreme Court petition? It tells us immediately that we're dealing with something deeply personal, incredibly serious, and, frankly, super legally complex. Section 1. The Infant Petitioner. We're focusing on Supreme Court case GR number 193652, decided on August 5, 2014. So we have infant Julian Caram, represented by his mother, May Christina Caram. She filed a petition against several respondents. We're talking lawyers, social welfare officers, and the Office of the Solicitor General. At its core, this whole thing stemmed from a custody struggle after the child's initial surrender to social welfare. But the fundamental legal question we're looking at is about the specific tool the mother chose to try and protect her child. She opted for something called a Writ of Amparo. Section 2. Defining the writ. As it's defined directly in Section 1 of the Rule on the Writ of Amparo, this is a remedy available to any person whose right to life, liberty, and security is violated or threatened by an unlawful act or omission. Now let's pause for a second. When you hear that, the Writ of Amparo sounds like this massive, broad, catch-all protective shield, right? Like if your life, your liberty, or your personal security is threatened by anyone, a public official, a private entity, it sounds like this is the ultimate panic button you can just press to get the courts to protect you. Section 3, the strict limitations. Well, here is where we hit a wall of statutory reality. While the constitutional ideal broadly protects life, liberty, and security, the strict reality explicitly dictates that the writ shall cover extralegal killings and enforced disappearances, or threats thereof. It is absolutely not a generalized shield against any and all legal wrongs. Actually, scratch that. It's not a shield at all. It's more like a highly specialized, surgically precise legal weapon designed for literally the absolute worst-case scenarios. The Supreme Court actually included this exact phrasing in their decision to really hammer home its core purpose. The writ was envisioned basically to protect and guarantee the right to life, liberty, and security of persons, free from fears and threats that vitiate the quality of life. But, and this is a massive but here, that doesn't mean just any fear or any threat. It specifically targets threats that are so severe, like extrajudicial killings, that they completely destroy the foundation of human rights. Section 4. Cementing legal precedent. To explain to the petitioner exactly why her case couldn't utilize this specific writ, the justices used three major landmark cases as stepping stones. They looked at Secretary of National Defense versus Manalo, Lozada Jr. versus Macapagal Arroyo, and Navia versus Partico. By stacking these cases together, the court firmly cemented the boundaries of Amparo jurisprudence, explicitly outlining what falls under the scope of this extraordinary writ and, just as importantly, what doesn't. Check out the ruling from the Lozada case. This was absolutely crucial. The Supreme Court used it to explicitly shatter that catch-all myth we talked about. They declared that the Writ of Amparo is confined only, and only is the operative word here, to cases of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances, or threats thereof. So if your legal grievance doesn't fall into one of those two highly specific buckets, you cannot use this writ, period. Furthermore, you might be sitting there wondering, well, what exactly counts as an enforced disappearance? Can I just claim someone is missing? The Navia case clarified that, no, enforced disappearances isn't just some loose everyday concept. It requires strict statutory elements under Republic Act 9851 to be proven. You literally have to prove an arrest, detention, or abduction by agents of the state, followed by a refusal to acknowledge that deprivation of liberty. It is an incredibly high, very specific bar to clear. Section 5. The final verdict. Because the mother's situation with her infant, which, let's be real, was undoubtedly distressing for her, simply did not fit the strict statutory definitions of extralegal killings or enforced disappearances, the Supreme Court had to apply the law exactly as it's written. They denied the petition. They affirmed the lower regional trial court's previous orders. Essentially, the court said, look, we're not invalidating your underlying struggle, but you've brought the wrong legal tool to this courtroom. But pay really close attention to this specific legal phrasing. The court neutrally noted this denial was without prejudice. Now, what does that mean?
It means the petitioner is not barred from pursuing the correct legal avenues. She simply needed to utilize standard family and custody laws rather than trying to force an extraordinary writ to do the job.
As we wrap up this explainer, we want to leave you with this vital thought. The Caram case proves that understanding the strict limits of a legal remedy is just as important as knowing it exists in the first place. You can have the most pressing grievance in the world, but if you don't use the precise legal instrument designed for your issue, the courts just cannot help you. So, when evaluating your own rights or the rights of others, you have to ask yourself, are you using a broad brush, or have you found the exact correct legal tool for your specific situation? Thanks for joining us today.